Last week, Ford announced an electric version of their F-150, the F-150 Lightning. I had the opportunity to be a part of the team that captured the footage of the F-150 for the launch video, and there's one very specific shot in that video that was from my FPV drone, and I wanted to show off how we got that shot and kind of what it looked like before and after it went through visual effects and all this stuff. So I thought it'd be kind of a cool exercise to break down the shot as it shows up in the advertisement, and then the actual shot that I got on my GoPro for the shoot. So it should be pretty cool to dive in and see how we got that, and then what went into making it work for the F-150 advert. Before we dive in, I want to shout out the guys at Sky Candy Studios and White and Rice Productions. They passed this gig along to me. They were too busy working on something else, so I got to kind of jump in and be a part of the F-150 launch.
And when I got a good sense of the scale and the scope to which we were going to be doing this production, I reached out to the team at Drone Dudes to, again, partner up with them on making all of this stuff to come together. I couldn't have done it without their support either.
And if you're interested in picking up any of this cool merch, the sweatshirt is on pre-sale, and we have some of the hats available, as well as awesome mugs in the link in the description below. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you the actual drone that we used to capture this. Nothing other than a Project 399 Super G. Nothing special here. It's a GoPro quad, gets the job done. We used a GoPro Hero 9. We had the Money Shot Mini with a red Komodo on set, but they wanted something smaller, and I'll show you why in a second. What you may notice is that on top we have the standard GoPro wedge mount for the Project 399 Super G, but also on the bottom, on the chin of the drone, I've got this GoPro labia mount that's here for very specific reasons. Now, what's really cool about this project is that it was directed and DP'd by none other than the legendary Wally Pfister. Wally Pfister was the DP for Inception, for Dark Knight Rises, worked very closely with Christopher Nolan, who recently put out the movie called Tenet. And in Tenet, they use a lot of really cool reverse filming, or filming in reverse, to kind of demonstrate the reverse entropy theme that was going on in the movie Tenet. And so what we did was we actually used some of the techniques from that movie to get this shot in the Ford advertisement. So the shot that they wanted to get was the drone flying down from kind of up high, comes in down underneath the truck, and then spins around while it's under the truck, and then pops back out the other side and flies up and back. Really, really cool idea for a shot, but realistically, we had one copy of the F-150 Lightning, so it was like an absolute no-go. You do not hit this truck. We don't have another one on set to replace it with, and the clearance was really only like 8 to 10 inches. Realistically, I think I probably could have actually practically flown underneath the truck, but it was not worth the risk when there's only one on set. So if I made a mistake, bumped the ground, flew up, and hit the like big old expensive light bar that goes across it, we're done. So we decided to use this kind of camera trickery to make it work. So the shot was made in two parts. We actually shot it 3 different times. The first was in the first shot that was used in the film. Basically, the drone, I'm going to use these as an example. So the drone is parked looking backwards underneath the car. So this is the front of the car here. And what happens is the car, as soon as action is called, reverses as fast as possible back over top of the drone. Now the drone is small enough that it can fit underneath it, and so the car goes backwards, and as soon as the car clears the drone, I just take off straight up and backwards. So that was the first shot. That kind of gives us this basically looks like the car is going backwards, but the drone is also going backwards. But when you reverse it, the car comes in forwards and the drone comes in forwards, and it ends up doing something like that. Then we went to the second location. We actually repeated that shot to kind of get it in that location as well, but then also shot it where the drone is facing forwards down the road, the truck is facing forwards down the road, and the truck takes off over top of the drone forwards, and as soon as it clears, I take off backwards. And so what that gives us is the truck moving forwards in real life over top of the drone, and the truck moving backwards but reversed forwards where the drone comes underneath it. Pretty crazy combination, but one of the problems that you realize is that you lose the aspect of the drone flying underneath the truck because the drone is always stationary and landed on the ground during that transition. So they were going through a couple different ways that they were going to do it, but basically they ended up adding in this like lightning effect, and it kind of masked the fact that the drone wouldn't have actually been moving on the ground. But they were talking about doing some visual effects where they actually made the road continue to move. But when the drone is landed, it's just physically there. Now, one of the problems that I kind of bumped into early while we were discussing this shot was that if I put the GoPro here and fly my drone backwards, what's going to happen is that I'm going to be looking at the sky and I'm not going to get the right framing, right? So I'm going to be just, and the camera is going to be looking up this way instead of down here where the subject is. So what I did was I mounted this GoPro labia mount on the bottom of the drone, and that allows me to change the angle of the GoPro to be looking down sideways. And then I just kind of slightly angled my FPV view a little bit lower so that I could see where I'm, when the truck goes by, but also be able to kind of take off and land and safely operate the drone. So I'd have the GoPro angled like this, where it's not necessarily level with the camera, but it is level with the ground, and then I would literally just punch out straight backwards. Pretty simple in terms of execution, so super simple shot for me to be able to fly it and get the shot for Wally, but it creates that really awesome effect where the drone comes flying in underneath the truck and then back out. So I'm really excited with how that shot turned out, and now let's take a look at kind of what it looked before and after with the VFX, because there's like lightning and clouds and stuff in there that they weren't there when we shot it. So, and I didn't see the final product until after it actually came out. So it was really cool to see like what they did with the footage to kind of make it look different from what I captured on the GoPro.
Okay, so before we jump into this, I don't think I have the exact same shot that they ended up using in the final cut. I thought we did it 3 or 4 times. I only have 2 of the shots, and I think that's just because like you hand the cards off to DIT. DIT does stuff with it you'd never know where it ends up. So I've got one that's very close to it, but it's not the exact same, because like if you look at the fence over here, you can see that the truck at this point is like further up the road, so I just don't have the quite exact thing, but it's close enough for the purposes of what we're doing here. So if we step this forward, the first thing that I noticed is obviously like the color is so different, right? Everything is much darker, moodier, scarier. The light on the truck is brought out a lot. Looks really, really cool. And then the obvious like sky replacement, like completely different sky. It was clear, crystal clear on that day, and then we did the truck, and it's just like all of a sudden there's lightning in the background. I just like, so like when I saw the shot for the first time, I'm like, wait, that's me, but there was definitely not lightning that day, because that is not kosher FP or drone flying. So I'm like, oh, cool, that's cool that they could add that in, and it looks reasonable, right? You can see like there's like a couple crackles in the clouds there, and then bam, in the background you've got that lightning effect. And then you can see that this is where I noted that it's definitely 2 different shots, because like on the left side on my footage right here, I launched a little bit later than I did in the footage that's over here now. So what's happened is that we just have a slight mismatch of frames because of what I've shot. But then you can see that they've added in like these lens flares, and the headlights are much beamier and brighter to kind of contrast against the fact that it was in the daytime and now it's in the nighttime. Another lightning bolt coming in there, and then the transition happens right here. There's a slight, like a big lens flare to kind of like accentuate that lightning bolt that happened in the background. You can see that we're still on that first shot, because you can see the light of the car there, and then that fence post. And then if I click over one more frame, now we've switched over to the other shot, which I do have the exact one of. I've got it lined up fairly close. It's not exact because their speed ramping was different. And we switch over, and again, perfectly crystal clear sky on one side, and then complete sky replacement on the other. But like what's cool though is that even though they brought down all of the colors, they made it much darker and moodier. They still brought out, I thought, a lot of like the headlights of the truck, making it look like it's really happening at night. And that sky replacement just looks super epic. Like we actually had a sunset that looked pretty much like that, but it just looks way better with what they did with the sky replacement and stuff. So I thought that was kind of cool to see. I've never seen somebody take like my footage and just completely change what it looked like in the long run. Like I'm totally about it. I thought it looks really cool, and it definitely suits the shot way better as a result. But it just was when I saw it for the first time, I'm like, what? Where'd that come from? So anyway, I thought you guys would appreciate the kind of like what happens after it goes to VFX. Thanks everybody for watching this video on the Ford F150 Lightning commercial and how we did this epic FPV shot, but kind of faked it a little bit to make sure that we, got the shot done, stayed safe, did what we needed to do to get it done. I hope that you enjoyed this kind of analysis of how we did this and what it was like to do it on set and what, my reactions were to it after I saw it. I hope that you enjoyed that process, and let me know if you want to see more stuff like this in the future, like how, a series on like how my shots get used or something like that. I don't know. But in the meantime, thanks very much for watching. Be sure to go check out some merch over at store.nerk.tv and stay flying.